Welcome back. I did finish charging my camcorder. The sun is shining, so it's very hot in my living room. It will be even hotter because it's only May months, so I have to close the door. So when I'm finished reading, I will move all these web browsers to a new set, and I will make a kind of read orders. But I think next read is New York City, and we have to read New York State, of course. It's 1 p.m. and I have to press not touching anything. I have something stop popping up always. I need many hundreds of hours to read this, and a lot of text is just the numbers and names of cities and temperatures. But just record everything. I hope I can finish this long. I don't know how, I forgot to look how long it is. So I need half a minute to do myself ready, and let's try press the play button.
Pennsylvania 5,927 1.73 square mi, 4.5 kilometers, 3,436 / square mi, 1,327 / kilometer. Torrington SAP. Torrington, Connecticut 35,515 39.77 square mi, 103.0 kilometers, 893 / square mi, 345 / kilometer. Urban areas, edit. Urban area population. 2020 census, land area. Square mi, land area. Kilometer, density. Population / square mi, density. Population / kilometer. New York, Jersey City, Newark, NYNJ 19,426,449 3,248.128 412.59 5,980.83 2,309.21 Bridgeport, Stamford, CTNY 916,408 397.29 1028.98 2,306.63 890.60 New Haven, CT 561,456 298.01 771.85 1,884.00 727.42 Trenton, NJ 370,422 133.13 344.81 2,782.39 1,074.29 Poughkeepsie, Newburgh, NY 314,766 209.92 543.69 1,499.45 578.94 Waterbury, CT 199,317 92.44 239.41 2,156.22 832.52 Danbury, CTNY 171,680 118.49 306.88 1,448.92 559.43 Kyrios Joel, NY 71,582 28.75 74.47 2,489.47 961.19 Middletown, NY 61,516 25.96 67.24 2,369.55 914.89 Riverhead Southold, NY 51,120 52.80 136.74 968.25 373.84 Kingston, NY 50,254 31.10 80.54 1,615.96 623.93 East Stroudsburg, par 47,891 38.94 100.85 1,229.95 474.89 Torrington, CT 35,212 21.76 56.36 1,618.24 624.81 Hamburg Vernon Highland Lakes, NJ 28,250 21.81 56.48 1,295.53 500.21 Rookerfield, CT 25,683 28.80 74.59 891.77 344.32 Coolworth Pocono Pines, par 24,893 19.74 51.13 1,260.93 486.85 Flemington Raritan, NJ 24,401 18.39 47.64 1,326.60 512.20 Mystic Island Little Egg Harbor, NJ 23,074 12.97 33.60 1,778.41 686.65 East Hampton North Springs Northwest Harbor, NY 21,812 35.85 92.86 608.39 234.90 West Milford, NJNY 17,659 14.22 36.83 1,241.82 479.47 Port Jarvis, NY par 16,187 7.59 19.65 2,133.62 823.80 Clinton, NJ 16,136 10.46 27.10 1,541.92 595.34 Walden, NY 15,784 11.56 29.95 1,365.14 527.08 Lake Mohawk, NJ 13,164 8.23 21.32 1,598.92 617.35 Newton, NJ 12,813 7.90 20.47 1621.50 626.06 New Pauls, NY 9969 4.89 12.66 2039.69 787.53 Oak Ridge, NJ 8871 5.41 14.01 1640.23 633.30 Winstead, CT 7804 6.12 15.86 1274.47 492.08 Ellenville, NY 7093.308.56 2146.31 828.70 Warwick, NY 7084 2.927.56 2427.84 937.40 Chester, NY 5904.57 11.84 1290.39 498.22 Montauk, NY 3845 5.93 15.35 648.76 250.49 Palmyra, PAR 3772 8.30 21.49 454.71 175.56 History, edit. Main article, History of New York City. During the Wisconsin glaciation, the region was situated at the edge of a large ice sheet over 1,000 feet in depth. The ice sheet scraped away large amounts of soil, leaving the bedrock that serves as the geologic foundation for much of the New York metropolitan region today. Later on, the ice sheet would help split apart what are now Long Island and Staten Island. New Amsterdam, including present-day Lower Manhattan, in 1664, the year England took control and renamed it New York. At the time of European contact, the region was inhabited by Native Americans, predominantly the Lenape, and others. The Native Americans used the abundant waterways in the area for many purposes, such as fishing and trade routes. Sailing for France in 1524, Giovanni the Verrazzano was the first European to enter the local waters and encounter the residents, but he did not make landfall. Henry Hudson, sailing for the Dutch in 1609, visited the area and built a settlement on Lower Manhattan Island that was eventually renamed New Amsterdam by Dutch colonists in 1626. In 1664, the area went under English control, and was later renamed New York after King Charles II of England granted the lands to his brother, the Duke of York. As the fur trade expanded further north, New York became a trading hub, which brought in a diverse set of ethnic groups including Africans, Jews, and Portuguese. The island of Manhattan had an extraordinary natural harbor formed by New York Bay, actually the drowned lower river valley of the Hudson River, enclosed by glacial moraines, the East River, which is a tidal strait, and the Hudson River, all of which merge at the southern tip, from which all later development spread. During the American Revolution, the strategic waterways made New York vitally important as a wartime base for the British Navy. Many battles such as the Battle of Long Island and the Battle of New York were fought in the region to secure it. New York was captured by the British early in the war, becoming a haven for Loyalist refugees from other parts of the country, and remained in the hands of the British until the war ended in 1783. New York served as the capital of the United States from 1785 until 1790, after which the capital moved to Philadelphia. New York has been the country's largest city since 1790. In 1792, the Buttonwood Agreement, made by a group of merchants, created what is now the New York Stock Exchange in Lower Manhattan. Today, many people in the metropolitan area work in this important stock exchange. The Statue of Liberty in New York Harbor greeted millions of immigrants as they came to America by ship in the late 19th and early 20th centuries and is a globally recognized symbol of the United States and its democracy. Large-scale immigration into New York was a result of a large demand for manpower. A cosmopolitan attitude in the city created tolerance for various cultures and ethnic groups. German, Irish, and Italian immigrants were among the largest ethnic groups. Today, many of their descendants continue to live in the region. Cultural buildings such as the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Metropolitan Opera, and the American Museum of Natural History were built. New York newspapers were read around the country as media moguls James Gordon Bennett, Sr., Joseph Pulitzer and William Randolph Hearst battled for readership. In 1884, over 70% of exports passed through ports in New York or in one of the surrounding towns. The 5 boroughs of New York, the Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens, and Staten Island, were consolidated into a single city in 1898. The main concourse of Grand Central Terminal in Manhattan, which opened in 1913. The newly unified New York City encouraged both more physical connections between the boroughs and the growth of bedroom communities. The New York City subway began operating in 1904 as the Interborough Rapid Transit Company, one of 3 systems, the other 2 being the Brooklyn Manhattan Transit Corporation and the independent subway system, that were later taken over by the city. Railroad stations such as Grand Central Terminal and Pennsylvania Station helped fuel suburban growth. During the era of the Prohibition, when alcohol was banned nationwide, organized crime grew to supply the high demand for bootleg alcohol. The Broadway Theater District began to develop with the opening of the New York subway in 1904 and, by the early part of the 20th century, had been made world famous as New York's theatrical and entertainment center through popular musical productions like Ziegfeld Follies and Showboat and the opening of multiple large, extravagantly decorated theaters in the area spanning Broadway from 47th to 42nd Streets. The Great Depression suspended the region's fortunes as a period of widespread unemployment and poverty began. City planner Robert Moses began his automobile-centered career of building bridges, parkways, and later expressways across the tri-state area. During World War II, the city economy was hurt by blockades of German U-boats, which limited shipping with Europe. United Nations headquarters, established in Midtown Manhattan in 1952. After its population peaked in 1950, a significant portion of the city's population left for the suburbs of New York over the following decades. The effects were a result of white flight. Industry and commerce also declined in this era, with businesses relocating to the suburbs or other regions. The era also saw an increase in the construction of housing projects for the city's low-income population under the New York City Housing Authority, coinciding with the destruction of communities to construct interstate highways to link the city with its suburbs. The city, particularly Brooklyn, was dealt a psychological as well as an economic blow with the loss of the iconic Brooklyn Dodgers Major League Baseball team, which moved to Los Angeles after the 1957 season. Crime affected the city severely. Urban renewal projects alleviated decay in poorer neighborhoods to a certain extent. but many of these later proved to be failures and caused unanticipated consequences like ghettoization, informal racial segregation in housing, and disruption of the organic urban fabric that made the city's neighborhoods cohesive and healthy places to live. There was little reported social unrest during the Northeast blackout of 1965, but the New York City blackout of 1977 led to massive rioting, looting, and arson in some parts of the city. In addition, the 1970s recession crippled traditional industries such as manufacturing in the New York City region. A rare positive highlight of the period was the completion of the original World Trade Center, a massive office complex in New York's financial district whose iconic, 110-story twin towers for a short time stood as the world's tallest buildings. In the 1980s, the city's economy was booming, particularly in the financial sector. Wall Street was fueling an economic surge in the real estate market, and later the dot-com bubble. Despite this, crime was still an issue. This was exacerbated by the crack epidemic, with the New York City area being one of the major ports of entry for narcotics entering the United States. Neighborhoods such as the South Bronx became prime examples of late 20th century urban decay. Beginning in the 1990s, however, crime dropped substantially due to tough-on-crime policies. Crime in New York City has continued to decline through the 21st century. The 11th of September attacks in 2001 were pivotal in the region and nation's history. The attacks killed nearly 3,000 people as two planes crashed into the former World Trade Center and caused the towers to collapse. Businesses led an exodus from Lower Manhattan because of this but were replaced by an increased number of high-rise residences, and a building boom in New York continues to this day. In 2003, another blackout occurred, the 2003 North America blackout, but the city suffered no looting. A flooded Avenue C in Manhattan just moments before the explosion at an electrical substation. On October the 29th and 30th, 2012, Hurricane Sandy caused extensive destruction in the metropolitan area, ravaging portions of the Atlantic coastline with record-high storm surge, severe flooding, and high winds, causing power outages for millions of residents via downed trees and power lines and malfunctions at electrical substations, leading to gasoline shortages and snarling mass transit systems. Damage to New York and New Jersey in terms of physical infrastructure and private property, as well as including interrupted commerce, was estimated at several tens of billions of dollars. The storm and its profound impacts have prompted the discussion of constructing seawalls and other coastal barriers around the shorelines of the metropolitan area to minimize the risk of destructive consequences from another such event in the future. One World Trade Center, also known as Freedom Tower, was completed in 2014 to replace the fallen Twin Towers. The 2017-2021 New York City transit crisis, which began with what media outlets referred to as the 2017 Summer of Hell, led New York Governor Andrew Cuomo to declare a state of emergency. The crisis was due to the interaction of multiple severe problems in the New York City subway system and in New York City bus lines, as well as at Penn Station, the final stop on several of the commuter lines connecting New York City with other parts of the metropolitan area. Its root causes included long-term neglect of critical infrastructure and lack of adequate funding for ongoing operations, among others. The state of emergency was formally ended on the 30th of June, 2021. Statistical History, edit. The U.S. Census Bureau first designated metropolitan areas in 1950 as standard metropolitan areas, SMAs. The New York Northeastern NJSMA was defined to include 17 counties, 9 in New York, the 5 boroughs of New York City, Nassau, Suffolk, Westchester, and Rockland, and 8 in New Jersey, Bergen, Hudson, Passaic, Essex, Union, Morris, Somerset, and Middlesex. In 1960, the Metropolitan Area Standards were modified and renamed Standard Metropolitan Statistical Areas, SMSAs. The new standards resulted in the splitting of the former SMA into several pieces. The 9 New York counties became the New York SMSA, 3 of the New Jersey counties, Essex, Union, and Morris, became the Newark SMSA, 2 other New Jersey counties, Bergen and Passaic, became the Patterson-Passaic-Clifton SMSA, Hudson County was designated the Jersey City SMSA, and Middlesex and Somerset counties lost their metropolitan status. In 1973, a new set of metropolitan area standards resulted in further changes. Nassau and Suffolk counties were split off as their own SMSA, Nassau-Suffolk SMSA. Bergen County, originally part of the Patterson-Clifton-Passaic SMSA, was transferred to the New York SMSA. The New York SMSA also received Putnam County, previously non-metropolitan. Somerset County was added to the Newark SMSA, and 2 new SMSAs, the New Brunswick-Perth-Amboy-Sayreville SMSA, Middlesex County, and Long Branch, Asbury Park SMSA, Monmouth County, were established. In 1983, the concept of a Consolidated Metropolitan Statistical Area, CMSA, was first implemented. A CMSA consisted of several primary metropolitan statistical areas, PMSAs, which were individual employment centers within a wider labor market area. The New York, Northern New Jersey, Long Island CMSA consisted of 12 PMSAs. 7 PMSAs were based on the original 1950 New York SMA that were split up: New York, Bergen, Passaic, Jersey City, Middlesex, Somerset, Hunterdon added for the first time, Monmouth, Ocean added for the first time, Nassau, Suffolk, and Newark, Sussex added for the first time. One additional PMSA was the Orange County PMSA, previously the Newburgh Middletown SMSA. The other 4 PMSAs were former SMSAs in Connecticut, Bridgeport, Stamford, Norwalk, and Danbury. In 1993, 4 PMSAs were added to the New York, Northern New Jersey, Long Island CMSA, Trenton PMSA, Mercer County, Dutchess County PMSA, Waterbury PMSA, and New Haven PMSA. Several new counties were also added to the CMSA: Sussex, Warren, and Pike. The CMSA model was originally utilized for tabulating data from the 2000 census. In 2003, a new set of standards was established using the Core-Based Statistical Area (CBSA) model was adopted and remains in use as of 2010. The CBSA model resulted in the splitting up of the old CMSA into several metropolitan statistical areas: New York, Northern New Jersey, Long Island, Poughkeepsie, Newburgh, Middletown, Trenton, Princeton, Bridgeport, Stamford, Norwalk, includes Danbury, and New Haven, Milford, includes Waterbury. In 2013, the Census Bureau added Carbon, Lehigh, Northampton, and Monroe counties in Pennsylvania, and Warren County, New Jersey, encompassing collectively the Allentown, Bethlehem, Easton, PAR NJMSA, and the East Stroudsburg, PAR MSA, to the combined statistical area, and assimilated Poughkeepsie, Newburgh, Middletown into the larger New York, Northern New Jersey, Long Island NYNJ PAR MSA. In 2018, the Allentown, Bethlehem, Easton, PAR NJMSA was removed from the combined statistical area. Proposals for the region, edit. See also, Partition and Secession in New York. the metropolitan region has never had separate political representation from the rest of their original states. This has to do with disagreements in the desired model and the constitutional complexity of the metropolitan region being cross-state. Within the state of New York over the last 30 years, discussions have emerged of splitting the states into different regions with separate governors and legislators whilst remaining part of the same state, as opposed to seeing New York and its metropolitan area being split into a separate state. The idea has been seen by Republicans in the state